What is going on? I want to welcome you from Half Court for today, Monday, December 19th, 2022. I'm your host, Sean Murphy, alongside my guy, Jeff I am Brady. Jeff, what in the is going on with recording all of these videos after Lions wins? What is happening?
Yeah, you see, I got my Lions hat on. Lions win again. And this is what makes everything so much more fun is when you get to watch a victory today, and then it makes this loss today for the Pistons a little easier to digest. It's
Yeah,
never good, but when the Lions win, it's like, all right, what do you got for me today? And
right.
so nothing's going
Well,
to phase me today. Nothing.
it also is like the sobering reminder that it's easier to cheer against Zach Wilson than it is Kevin Durant. It's
Yeah.
like it was like the two spectrums of New York sports, like the highest of highs as far as like Kevin Durant and then Zach Wilson.
hmm
So
The
that
milk
was
machine.
100%. It by the way, though, like that was probably like one of the most fun losses the Pistons have had in a while. Like that
Yeah,
second
no
half wasn't
question.
fun. That first half was sick. A lot of highlight plays, but Jeff, even through all these losses, even through like everything that's been going on this season, of late, a certain switch has been flipped, and this has been a switch that Pistons fans have been calling for since the beginning of the season. This is something that people have been calling for since the preseason.
hmm
And it's finally happened. And Jeff, we got to talk about it because not only is Jalen Duren now in the starting lineup, but Jeff, they are playing heavy minutes with the beef stew Jalen Duren rotation. And so far in a limited sample size, it's been a massive success. A massive
hmm
success. And Jeff, when we talk about the things that these guys have been doing, this is credit to this is credit to Pistons PR. I actually wrote an article about this over the weekend as well. You look at what these guys have been doing over the last couple of games. Jalen Duren almost broke Dwight Howard's record, but merely matched it instead for the most consecutive games of 12 plus rebounds as a teenager with 5, which is insane
hmm
that he's doing that. He was one rebound short. So he essentially broke the record. Like if you round up, but he didn't
hmm
break the record. He merely tied it. And then Isaiah Stewart, since November 11th, is shooting 47% from beyond the arc. And according to Pistons PR, that is the 8th highest three-point percentage in the NBA in that span. So Jeff, not only do the Pistons have one of the best three-point shooters in the NBA, they have two of the best three-point shooters in the NBA, and one of them is Isaiah Stewart. In this limited sample size, Jeff, both Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren in particular have been really impressive. I want to get to Beef Stew in a minute, but we got to start with the athletic freak and the anomaly that is Jalen Duren. Because Jeff, I thought this kid was going to be special. I wasn't expecting this early.
Yeah, we went to the opening night game against the Magic. It was his first game in the NBA. 18 years old now, he's 19. But at the time, we kind of had limited expectations for him because, like you said, we didn't expect him to make this much of an impact this early on.
He was
You knew he
18.
was raw. You knew there was things that, of course, he had to work on, like staying out of foul trouble and things like that, free throw shooting. And then we watched him night one, Sean, and we watched the Pistons close the game with Jalen Duren. Think about that for a second. They closed the game with Jalen Duren, his first
Opening
NBA
night.
game. Opening night, you're right, against the Orlando Magic, who plays a giant lineup, so that's probably why they did it. But no question, yeah, Jalen Duren has been everything and then some. You see the impact he has defensively. That was a big thing last year for the Pistons, is having that rim protector, that presence on the inside, trying to even out the points in the paint. Duren, at now 19 years old, man, again, finally it's happened. He started. I understand why he didn't start because you could have made a case for him game one, but you got to go through those ebbs and flows of the season. There's a lot of things he learned, I'm sure, game one to now. And I'm telling you, Sean, you see the impact. I mean, defensively, the energy he brings. He's giving guys second chance points or second chance looks. And then with Isaiah Stewart, too, you talked about shooting, 47% from three. That's why this fit works. Like it started with Isaiah Stewart in the summer working on his 3-point shot. Now that he's actually consistent with it and he's a viable threat, this fit works that much more because Isaiah's versatile. He can guard multiple positions. Duren can hold his own in the paint. Like, those guys play well off of each other. And the fact that Dwayne finally made the decision, and I know defensively there's still a lot of things this team needs to work through. Those two together playing. You saw it today against the Brooklyn Nets for 3.5 quarters. I mean, I love how they've worked together, Sean. It's been everything and more. I just would have loved to see Cade playing with these two in the front court, but I guess that's for next season.
Right. Again, you can take every single thing this Pistons season and everything and just go, man, but if Cade was with him, it just takes it to a different level, which is 100% true.
Yeah.
But Jeff, even without Cade there, I mean, obviously when you look at what a Detroit Pistons team has been built on when we've been successful, it's been three main things, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's been great backcourts, it's been phenomenal defense, and it's been tough front courts. You look at the bad boys. It was the great backcourt with Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars, but it was that front court that really took it home with Bill Laimbeer, Rick Mahorn, guys like Dennis Rodman, the tough ones down low that were willing to do the dirty things, that were banging down low with some of the biggest giants and some of the greatest post players we've ever seen in this game. And then you get to 03, 04. A lot of people talk about, including Flannel Sam, whose argument with Ben Wallace not being a Hall of Famer. Jesus, that's a whole other. I could do a dissertation on that thing, but like the ability for Ben Wallace and Rasheed Wallace to essentially limit Shaq's effect throughout that finals, because even though he was scoring 30 plus points, his energy level at the end of the series was far different than it was at the beginning. And Ben Wallace made him work for everything he got on the offensive end. So he couldn't do anything on the defensive end. A lot of people forget how that series went, but it was because of that great front court combined with Chauncey and Rip. Obviously we have Cade and Ivy, and a lot of conversations have been put on that. And obviously getting Jaden Ivey this draft was a great thing, but Jeff, you could make an argument that for the longevity of this Pistons team, it might have been the biggest blessing this draft that they ended up with Jalen Duren at 13.
Mm-hmm. Because you can make a case he's a top 5 pick. I mean, this is before the draft too. I'm not just saying that in hindsight.
100%.
Like we talked about that legitimately, and Troy even talked about it. I thought about taking Duren at 5, and the fact that he was still there at 13. I mean, another year we're talking about Troy winning the draft. I mean, what's new here? Back to back. I mean, we've had this conversation multiple times, but Duren, to me, that's going to be a special player for a long time. Imagine when he hits, because physically he looks like he's in his prime, but there's still a long way to go for Duren. I mean, at 19 years old, we're seeing Killian Hayes be effective. And I know it's different. You're playing the guard versus playing, center, but still 21 years old. We're seeing Killian shine. Duren is 19 freaking years old. He's going to have so many off seasons to get better. Sean, the league should be on notice with Jalen Duren. That's just what it is.
The thing that's so special about Jalen Duren, Jeff, like when we talk about like his youth and how he plays, because it's like he's 19, but it doesn't look like it. The reason why it doesn't look like it is because a lot of young guys come to the NBA and they think they're just going to conquer. They come out and they try to pull every single move that they did in AAU. They're still figuring out who they are as players and who they are as people, right? Jalen Duren has such an insane ceiling, and a lot of times looks like he's impressing himself with his athleticism, but at the same time, as a basketball player, knows what his role is, knows what his job is, and knows where he can make an impact. Like, he's not trying to stretch his offensive game to be anything that it isn't. He's not trying to make any extreme plays or going over the top or being overly ambitious. He's crashing the boards. He's protecting the rim. He's playing tough defense, and he's doing the dirty work. And like the fact that he has that mentality and the fact that he has that assurance in himself as a person, but also as a player at 19, Jeff, you can't you can massage that and like work a player to get better at that over time. You can't teach that to be naturally that good at 19 with that intuition. You just can't.
No, and honestly, Sean, I would credit that, and I don't know, Duren would probably be the better person to ask on this, but being at Memphis, being under Penny Hardaway, Rasheed Wallace, Larry Brown, like you see the IQ he has, and again, still a long way to go. He's not even reached close to his ceiling. But you see Duren and him understand his role, embrace his role. He doesn't force anything. I mean, his points are coming from second chance points or being set up by teammates. I mean, he lets things come to him. He lets the game come to him. He's just an intelligent basketball player. It seems like that's a common theme here with the Pistons. I mean, Troy, who he's bringing in, just high intellect basketball players, guys who love ball. And Duren, I just love the traditional big man coming back. Like, there's a part of me, and again, there's still plenty more for him to develop, but him embracing that. Like this year, you saw Chet, and then now you see Jalen Duren. There's Mark Williams, and Duren to me, like Dwight Howard was a crazy comparison, but it's not that far off. I think physically and what he can be, dominate, like to be able to dominate at his size, at his age, my gosh. I mean, for a long time, the Pistons are going to be very happy with him. And I love what you brought up too about Rasheed and Ben Wallace, because with Rasheed too, he was a 4 that could play the 5 at times, could switch on multiple different positions. I feel like that's going to be Stu. Like Beef Stew is going to be that same. And I'm not saying he's going to be
Duren can do it too.
but Stu and Duren could do it too. Like both those guys and their switchability, it's going to be dangerous. And that's how Troy's molding this roster. Like guys that are versatile, man. And it's going to be a dangerous lineup, no doubt.
Yeah, for sure. And with Isaiah Stewart, like him in particular, this is a guy that like Jeff, you and I have talked quite a bit about, this last season, there were a lot of people that were questioning his spot on this team. There were people saying that he needs to go, that he needs to be replaced, that he needs to, that where's his spot in this team. Not a lot of that talk now, Jeff.
No,
I can't stop thinking about the fact of what Isaiah Stewart was as a rookie, just at 19 years old, versus where he's at now. How night and day of a difference his basketball game is. And it's only been 3 years. It's only his 3rd season. Like,
right.
The amount of growth that he's shown is insane. And the fact that he's playing this well at the power forward position when he's never played it before until this past year's summer league. And now he's starting routinely doing it. You can just tell how great of a fit that is for him. And also like having Duren behind him, like the fact that you have both of those forces in the paint, it just gives Detroit like a, just an interior threat that they just didn't have. And quite frankly, something that if these guys just keep getting better and they just keep developing a better chemistry, this could be one of the hardest front courts to score on in the entire NBA.
Yeah, the ceiling is definitely limitless. I think for these two because they're so young, and I think that's what people get confused about. Like for Killian Hayes, for example, writing guys off way too early. I think that's been a common theme for a lot of players in the NBA. Yes, you can criticize somebody, but for Isaiah Stewart, like you said, and what you hit on, where he's come from his rookie year to now year 3, playing a new position, shooting the 3 ball, his first season consistently doing that, and he's shooting over 40% in the stretch of games you talked about. It's impressive, man. I mean, Isaiah Stewart to me, whether he's starting or, I'm not going to count out the Pistons, getting a possible Victor Wembanyama, but let's just say Isaiah Stewart right now, whether he's starting or he's coming off your bench, he's a good basketball player. You're going to want him a part of this future. There's no question about it.
Well, Jeff, I'm glad you brought that up because here's the crazy thing. Everyone thinks, oh, well, Victor Wembanyama comes in and that immediately changes everything. Jeff, you could play Victor Wembanyama, Isaiah Stewart, and Jalen Duren all on the court together. You could.
Talk to me, Sean.
You could. The amount of lineup combinations that, and again, we don't want to get our hopes up. Like that's the thing is like, even if we don't get Victor, we're in such a good spot.
Hypotheticals. Yeah, that's all.
100% these are hypotheticals because more than likely this isn't happening. But even if it does, we're in like dynasty potential conversation. If it doesn't, we're still in a great spot because of the fact that these guys are down low. Because quite frankly, I don't feel too uncomfortable with putting Jalen Duren on Victor Wembanyama in a playoff series and say, hey, Victor, try and bang against that guy in the post.
Good luck.
Like That's the thing. Even at 7'5", man, there is like that, like as much of a physical specimen that is, it is hard to be more of an athletic freak than Jalen Duren is, dude.
Oh,
That good Lord,
yeah.
dude.
And his vertical leap ability, like the guy is insanely athletic. Like he might be 7'5", but Jalen Duren to me, when he jumps full, like he can get up. Don't worry about it. I've seen some block shots he's had this year where I'm like, I'm just flabbergasted. By he there's shots that you don't think Duren can block, and he proves me wrong every single time with how high he can jump. So never rule anything out. The front court of Stewart and Duren, whether you get Victor or not, I don't think that's even the point. We covered it. You're in good hands with these
Right,
two up in your front court. You really are.
right. I mean, the ultimate point is this, Jeff. These guys together, not only, have they, like have they embraced, like playing together and seem to like the idea, but it seems like, from practice video, from everything that we can tell, these guys have a bond.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much of a bond that there's already a nickname for this front court that they've given to each other. I'm not sure if you've seen this, Jeff, but Jalen Duren posted on Instagram over the week with him and Stewart and said hashtag dog pound. And Jeff, I would argue not only is that one of the sickest nicknames I've ever heard for a front court, but Jeff, I would argue that the dog pound might be one of the most dangerous young front courts we have in this entire
Mm-hmm.
league. And if teams aren't scared about the idea of having to play against these two guys in a 7-game series in April or May,
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you, man, because the ceiling is damn high, man.
Sean, they're not done. I mean, you saw it before the season, them guys working on their 3-point shot, and I'm telling you, Duren has a nice form. I'm not saying he's going to rush that into it, but those two, I'm telling you right now, they're
Duren
unfinished
played for 20
products.
years, man.
They're going to get even better, and I cannot wait to see these two in their prime. I hope they're in a Pistons uniform because it's going to be entertaining.
Because Jeff, again, all this time, like all these people complaining and everything going like, woe's me, we lose these games. It's like, why? Where's the end? Where's the light at the end of the tunnel? Here's your answer. You throw this front court with the back court we have,
Mm-hmm.
with the cap space we have, with the top lottery odds that we have, with the GM that we have. You're cooking with gasoline, dude. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. Like, if that's not a position where you can either put pieces together to go contend, or guys are looking around the league at what potential teams could I join or go to, what young teams are exciting and could potentially be contending or building something interesting. I mean, of all of the young teams that we have in the NBA right now, of all the teams that are at the bottom of the standings, I'd say Orlando and Detroit, the talent that they have is just leagues above what
Mm-hmm.
everyone else in
Yeah.
that place in the standings has.
And it has
Just
nothing
without
to
a
do
doubt.
with and it has nothing to do with wins or losses because I think with the Pistons there's a little asterisk that says K'd out for the season.
Yeah.
So a lot of it's hard to you look at the talent. I'm glad you said that word, the talent on the team. Yeah, no question. I mean, there's a couple young cores in the league that I think in the future are going to be dangerous, and the Pistons are certainly, I personally think, at the top of that.
Mm-hmm. No question. And it's one of those things where if you're talking about restoring the Detroit Pistons, it's the fact that when I saw Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart on draft night and saw the images of these players, the highlights of how they play, the demeanor in which that they carried themselves from night one
Mm-hmm.
joining this organization, Jeff, like the ultimate thing that makes this front court special is that these guys embody everything it means to be a Piston. Like, you talk about two guys like Jalen Duren went and played at Memphis with Larry Brown and Penny Hardaway. Rasheed Wallace had that Memphis grit and grind. And then Isaiah Stewart from Rochester, New York, like the Detroit style, like mentality
Yeah.
and toughness that he plays with. That's the thing that's special, is that not only are they building a front court that's viable for this NBA, competitive, versatile, it's everything the Pistons embody and more.
Sean, they're rebuilding. I shouldn't say building, rebuilding an identity that's Detroit. I think Troy knows that, and that's why I love Troy, because it's more than just picking the player. He's looking at the individual, their personality, how they play, how they approach the game, their love for the game, and you see a common theme for all these draft picks. So I love it, man. That's what a good GM does. You establish an identity, but for Detroit, it's reestablished because we've had success with a certain DNA. And of course, this isn't 2004. You're not going to win, 85-80, but you can remake that same, recipe for success. And he's seeing that. I mean, guys that want to win, that play hard, that have that tough, hard-nosed mentality that you talked about. I see a common theme in pretty much everyone, even Ivy. I mean, guys on this team, they mirror each other. So it's a good group of guys. Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. With that, what do you think of the dog pound? Do you think Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren are going to be able to put it together? Dude, I'm telling you, man.
I need that on a shirt. I do.
We're gonna there's gonna be dog pound merch someday, dude. Mark my words. The league better watch out. But with that, man, thank y'all so much for watching. I will catch you guys next time from Half Court. Be sure you subscribe.